I've covered a lot of bad football teams, right? We talked about this before. I've been on this beat 15 years. I was there for Gase. I was there for the end of Todd Bowles. I was there for the end of Rex. Like I was there for Salah's first year. A lot of bad. I've never seen a team as bad as it was this season that I want to cover. This is the worst team I've ever covered.
Hello and welcome to Gangs All Here. My name is Ryan Sampson, the host and producer of the show. That's our Jets beat writer, Brian Costello. And that's my guy, Frankie Vittorini from U Stadium. Today is Tuesday, January 6th. The New York Jets have finished a 3-14 season that is to remember for a lot of fans and for the media as one of the worst, if not the worst ever. But we're here to discuss the Aaron Glenn, Darren Mougey season wrap-up press conference, the season as a whole, and just get Kaz and Frankie's thoughts about where this team is going for the future. But before we get to any of that, Mr. Costello, now that the season is over, it is Tuesday. How are you doing, and how are you feeling now that the somewhat season grind has halted and now it's off-season mode?
And now it's off-season grind. Yeah, oh, good. I mean, I'm starting to warm up from Buffalo, so that's nice. I mean, I don't. I know they didn't play well, but I don't even know how they played on Sunday. It was so freaking cold in Buffalo.
It looked
So,
cold. It looked cold on TV. Frankie, how you feeling now that we're a couple days past the season being over now?
Well, Kaz was right. It's impossible to play with your hair on fire in Buffalo in those temperatures.
oh,
You
I
were like,
forgot. Frankie picked the big win. I forgot. Well, Frankie, at what point did you think this might not happen like I saw it today?
literally before the kickoff. I knew the inevitable. Unfortunately, I had a different idea a few days earlier. But I'm in a very weird mood right now. I'm agitated, but I'm also glad the season's over. I'm just done with this team, so I'm sure we're
Yeah,
gonna get
it's I don't know how you did it this year, Kaz, specifically with just
a
the product on the field because I think it's so hard for someone in your position and a lot of of your coworkers who have to like actually cover the on-field product when the off-the-field storylines now just have completely taken over this franchise. And that's been like a common theme now for years now with this Jets team, unfortunately. But this year, especially though, Kaz, the fact that, statistically, if you want to look at the analytics models and whatnot, DVOA, the Jets are considered the third worst ever in the history of the
Yeah,
sport. The fact that they finished with no interceptions, the fact that they finished with
yeah,
four turnovers, another historic record, it just constantly is more and more of evidence wise, like this is one of the worst teams we've ever watched put together on a field. So
yeah.
now that you've had like I guess 2 days to kind of like examine where this is, how do you exactly view what this Jets team was?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Ryan, saying you don't know how I do it. I just want to say I appreciate all the people listening that have a real job. Right. Okay. Let's go there first. I get paid to watch football. It's bad football, but I do get paid to watch football, and I don't lose sight of that, even though sometimes I get cranky on Twitter. Um, Look, it's hard to evaluate the season as a whole because we've talked about this before. There were three different seasons. So it's hard. Like the 0-7 start it was really bad, right? It was really bad, and but they were close in some of those games, and so you were like, okay, but that to me was the real like if you want to knock Aaron Glenn, it's about the first seven games and not the last five games. I know there's been a conversation among fans and media lately. So, that first seven games, I think we thought they'd be better and they weren't. And then they kind of put a little like run together there for, winning three out of five, where it was kind of weird. They had kick returns to beat the Browns. They had the big comeback against Cincinnati. They played okay against New England and Baltimore. And then, the Falcons win now looks pretty amazing
Yeah.
considering the way the Falcons finished. And that who knows what happens if the Falcons had won that game. Maybe Ricky Morris still has a job and they're in the playoffs. And then everything changes against Miami. I thought they came out against Miami competing and you're trying to compete, I should say. They go down 21-0. Tyrod gets hurt and the Brady Cook era begins. And, Brady Cook's going to be a trivia question someday about somebody who started four games for the Jets in 2025, because I don't think we're really going to remember much about the football. And, this is the most, we've talked about tanking for years. I have never really felt like the Jets were completely in tank mode this much this early before, and they totally did it. And so I think if you're sitting here in 2 years and Dante Moore is an incredible quarterback for the New York Jets, you'll look back at that 5 game stretch and chuckle and say, "Oh man, they actually did it." If Dante Moore decides to go back to college and you're drafting Arvell Reese and he turns out to be like a decent linebacker or whatever, like I don't know how you're gonna look at this stretch, but I've covered a lot of bad football teams, right? We talked about this before. I've been on this beat 15 years. I was there for Gase. I was there for the end of Todd Bowles. I was there for the end of Rex. Like I was there for Salah's first year. A lot of bad. I've never seen a team as bad as it was this season that I want to cover. This is the worst team I've ever covered. Like I was debating it back and forth, and obviously there's some asterisks about the end of the season and who was playing and stuff. I get that, but objectively, this was the worst team I've ever covered.
Yeah, look, I think what your sentiment is there is what a lot of Jets fans feel about this as well. But there's a lot of anger, I think, and it comes from Frankie as well when they
Glenn,
and I
yeah,
want to
about
go
the coach.
about the
Yeah,
coach, but also at the same time, I think when I started this about asking you, like, I don't know how hard you can do your job, right, Kaz, is to cover this team. And there is a part, though, like, you want to talk about the actual on field product. And when the
yeah,
product is so bad to a point where you now
yeah.
have to say, like, wow, is this really the worst team I've ever
Well,
covered? Think about that.
the hard part actually, Ryan, is like, why do we love sports? We all love sports, right? It's the competition, right? It's seeing upsets. Like upsets are the greatest thing in sports, in my opinion. That's what I love about sports. Like I love March Madness. Why do you love March Madness? Because this little school that you maybe haven't heard of, Florida Gulf Coast or whatever, beats this team. St. Peter's can beat Kentucky. Like, right? Like that to me that's the charm of sports above all else. When you're watching games and number one, they're not competitive at all. And number two, it doesn't even feel like the competition matters because people are rooting for the team to lose. And like, that's a weird place to be. And that part of it is tough, from a coverage perspective, because it's like, when you're watching doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard. And that sucks. I hope someday to cover games that matter because in December, because I wrote about it last week. I haven't covered one since the 2015, at the end of the season that really mattered. 2022 a little bit, but that even slipped away quickly. But 2000, so it just sucks. You see all these great games. You turn on Pittsburgh, Baltimore,
Oh,
and they're like going like it's like a heavyweight fight where they're just trading punches in the fourth quarter with the playoffs on the line. Like
it's a
that's
completely different
awesome.
sport. They're playing a
Like
completely different sport than what the Jets
That
put
was a
out
great
there.
game, by the way.
yeah,
That
and
was an awesome game.
can Jets fans get a game like that? It's
No,
been,
I know.
so long since you've had a game that mattered like that.
Incredible.
So it's just it's sad, Ryan, more than anything. Like I know
It,
there's a lot of anger, but it's just kind of sad what the state of the franchise is right now.
Yeah, look, the sadness is turned into anger. The anger turns into
Yeah.
sadness. Either way, I think Frankie, that's something that we can sympathize with, is because we've watched such a product that they put out there that we can't be proud of it all. And like just we hate turning on the TV to watch the Jets at points the last month and a half of the season, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this wasn't just like normal bad. These weren't growing pains. This was like historic levels of ineptitude that we've never really seen before. They're bringing up stats from 1933, the last time a team didn't have an interception. They're going back 100 years ago, guys. I mean, we're used to stats post Super Bowl era stats, right? 72, whatever. They're going back to freaking the 40s, all the four takeaways since 1940. No
Yeah.
teams had it. I mean, listen, I understand this is this guy's first time doing this. We had Brady Cook playing. By the way, you can argue Brady Cook played better than Justin Fields. Just throwing that out there. But let's not get into that. But this is unbelievable. We're going back. How far back in time are we going to go? And the stat they didn't have an interception. I actually went and did some research. It's like a millionth of a percentage point
Yeah.
chance that a team does not have an interception in a season. You can have a billion years of football being played, and you might get it a few times. Like
It's
this is how
it's a record.
crazy it is,
It's a
guys.
record that's never going to be broken.
No,
It's never going to be
we'll
broken.
never see
No,
this again in our lifetime. A team
Yeah.
going without an interception.
Yeah. And we'll be
no.
talking about it at the beginning of next year. Like if they go week one, now it's 18 games. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
it's
seriously.
pretty incredible. Yeah, no,
The
it's
thing, Kai,
and
that bothers. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. What
No,
bothers you?
Cos, the thing that bothers me is they didn't come out with a statement. They had their presser today or their end of year recap. It
Yeah,
wasn't even streamed live. You were there, but yeah, I it
yeah,
just like
yeah.
bothers me. Like after a season like that, we get no answers. I
So,
mean,
real quick before we dive into the full
yeah,
presser
yeah.
itself, guys, this is gang sounds off. So this is where I want to get into, and I want to play some clips from the presser. Obviously, I had to piece these together through the internet because the Jets decided in the PR team not to stream the presser live with Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey. Kaz was there, so I don't think a lot of you guys knew that they weren't streaming this live to the fans. So we had to get quotes from either Twitter or from actual clips that they decided to put out. So listen, this is what some of the clips that I wanted to share to you guys that I thought are worth mentioning and us bringing up and talking about. So here's what Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey had to say after this season.
I'm excited about the offseason as we go into it. Obviously, the draft capital we have, the cap space, and just being here now a year with AG, working with AG, the staff, getting to learn the staff, getting to learn the players, getting to learn this division. I feel more confident today than ever moving forward with what we have going.
There's a clear vision. There's a clear plan on how we want to go about doing things. And you match that with Mougey, with our owner, the confidence I have in myself with some of the foundational players that we have. That in itself, to me, gives like all the confidence in the world, man, that we're going to go in the right direction. Now, there's some things we got to fix. Absolutely, we know that, and we'll fix those. We'll attack those the way we have to.
I believe we can be competitive and respectable right away next year.
What gives you that? You said, what gives you that confidence? You said earlier that you're the most confident. You have more confidence now than ever. What gives you the confidence?
Because I've been here a year, I've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. I've got a clear vision. AG and I, like we said, we talk daily on this roster and the vision in this division. And with the assets we have moving forward, the draft capital, the cap space, I know we're going to continue to build and add good players to the team that are going to help us win.
For our fans, listen, again, there's a vision that we have, and there's a trust that we have in that also. And I expect and I will want our fans to have a total trust in us and being able to do that. And we have to earn that too. And our plan is to do that. And we don't expect to have another season like this here. So we're looking forward to this offseason. Looking forward to getting to work and using the draft capital that we have and the money we have in free agency to continue to build what we've been trying to build.
So there's a vision, guys. If you can't tell from the presser, there's a vision. We don't know what the vision is, but there's a vision. Look, Kaz, I am fascinated to hear what your takeaways were, but I know for myself and Frankie, the things that stood out were they didn't want to address much of this season in terms of the answers I saw. And the other thing that I clearly is the point here, they're pointing forward. They're trying to go forward with the vision that they have for this team going forward. So what were your takeaways from what Glenn and Mougey were trying to tell us?
Yeah, I agree with you. They didn't want to talk about this season. Like they kind of, it's kind of silly where they Mougey came out and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna bring you guys into the process," and like talked about like how they're having meetings the next few days. And then like he's asked about how he thought Justin Fields played this season, and basically said, like, "Well, we have to meet about that." Like, come on, you have to have a meeting. There's no need to watch the film again to know how Justin Fields played. But these are tough situations, right? There's not good answers after a 3-14 season, really. Like I think Aaron Glenn has done a good job of trying to just fall on his sword after the game and today, saying this is all on me. He said that again today. Um, you know, I understand the vision they're asking for. Obviously, Glenn said this Sunday too, where they're asking for trust, they're asking for faith. I think the part that gets underestimated by these guys, and it's not just them, it's their predecessors were like this too, and the guys before that is as Jets fans, you guys have heard all of this before. And, oh, have faith in us. Well, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas asked for faith. Mike McCagnon asked for faith. Todd Bowles, Adam Gase asked for faith. Like, it's tough, right? Like, you guys have been there where you've had 2 first-round picks before, not that long ago. 2021 and 2022, they had 2 first-round picks, right? I can't remember the last time cap space was really a problem around here. Like you have to be a good team to have cap space issues. So like it's been like 12 years since I feel like there's been an offseason where cap space was a problem. So they have caps. Like so this stuff sounds good on paper, we got draft picks, we got cap space, you know, but like you guys have been through it so many times where it hasn't worked. And, I laughed. My friend Rich Cimini is in the little office next to me right now, and Rich is very good at coming up with stats and things. And, he tweeted Sunday the other times the Jets have had the number two pick. They took Zach Wilson, Blair Thomas, and Lamb Jones. And I said
That's
to Rich, I
cruel.
go, I really don't think Jets fans needed that from you on Sunday. So yeah, there's reasons for hope. And that's what they're gonna sell. And they're gonna be selling that for the next 2 years. I feel like we're gonna be hearing about draft picks and cap space and building blocks and this and that. What I come back to on the coaching front, Ryan, and is that they came into this season basically saying the difference this year was the coaching. Aaron Glenn said that. Mike Tannenbaum, who helped hire Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey, was on ESPN on Get Up every morning this summer saying they're going to be a better coached team this year than they were last year. Not sure where they were. And, last year was a mess with Salah and Ulbrich. I guess 2 years ago now at this point. But it was a mess and, it wasn't better this year. So, you know, it's like I said, I understand what they're doing. This is what they have to do. They have to sell hope. But I think it's a tough sell to a fan base that's just been being sold hope for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
Well
I mean,
said.
I think you're spot on there. I would also say, in response to them and Darren Mougey saying, yes, this can be a quick turnaround for us, and I have full confidence that we can turn this around quickly next year. You're going to have one hell of an offseason this year if you want
Yeah.
to turn this team around from a 3-14 disaster that it was and be a competitive, representative. That's all we're asking for right now. Just be a
Competitive and respectable were the words, right?
right.
And those were the words in the question, and he parroted those back. Those are tricky words. What's competitive? Is
Com-
competitive 5-12, but you didn't lose your last 5 games by 23 points? Like, is that respectable? Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they could go 5-12 next year, Ryan. Like, that wouldn't shock me. But if you're talking about challenging Josh Allen and Drake May in the AFC East, like, I feel like we're light years from there right now.
How many times did he bring up the division too? Like we
Yeah,
know we have, like, of course
yeah,
you know what's in the division. I mean, it's two stalwart, awesome MVP quarterbacks you're going up against in Allen and Drake May and Mike Vrabel and Sean
yeah,
McDermott. Like, it's going to be a tough task to be competitive in this division. And
yeah,
yes, you're 100% right, Kaz. What is competitive? I don't know, because
yeah.
every time you guys ask them those questions to give specifics, I feel like it's very generalized answers of, well, we have a vision and we have cap
Yeah.
space and we have picks coming up. Frankie, am I wrong in looking at it the way like we are right now as fans? Is like, these aren't great answers you're giving us. In fact, you're giving us very PC answers of, we have cap space, we have picks, we have a vision.
I think also, guys, I think they're also like misdiagnosing the real problems here. I don't think it's some culture discipline thing. I think it's an expertise issue they have. I don't think they have enough people there that are able to schematically put these players in the best position to win. Seriously, I really think it's that simple. I don't think it's like Glenn, I feel like, is still coming from a perspective where this Parcells kind of mentality where guys got to be more disciplined. They got to wake up earlier. They got to, put in more time. Yeah, that's true for sure, but that's not it. They need to think differently about how to put these guys in the best positions on the field schematically. And that also goes for defense. I was looking up the other day, what can coaches do defensively to give themselves an advantage, schematically speaking, through X's and O's? There's a bunch of things you could do. Mass coverages. Pretend like you're running man when they're running a pre-snap, and then you lock into a zone when the ball's hiked. Cover, say you're going to run a cover 3, and then at the end, you can run a cover 4 or run a cover 1. I mean, like, there's a bunch of things you can do, of which a coach like Mike McDonald from Seattle does a bunch of. He was actually someone that, when I did this research, is like very much into this kind of like masking certain coverages thing. Glenn, what's going on? I just don't like you can't go 13 weeks, not to go back on it, without an interception and not be in the room with these guys scheming things up. What they said today is just exactly what they're generically going to say. It's just We have a plan. We keep hearing about this plan. It's like I was saying, you guys remember Big Daddy, Sid's 5-year plan? Remember, don't die? That's the Jets' 5-year plan. It's just the same old stuff. It's like, I get it, but like, can you be a little, at least even Rex had a plan on offense. We're going to ground and pound. At least you
Yep.
got
Yeah.
something. You don't got to give us everything. You don't have to put the board back there.
Well,
And if
even when they
did,
so so Frankie, even when they and Kaz, when they gave us that plan in the preseason, it was the coaching part, but then it was also for the offensive. Hey, we're gonna run the hell out of the football. Like we have a team that we feel with a stable of backs and a quarterback that can run himself
Yeah.
and Justin Fields. But the problem was they didn't even run an offense that was primarily focused on that. Besides week one, it felt like they
Yeah.
got away from it real quick. And I know what you're gonna say, Kaz. They got down early in these games, Ryan, and they had to abandon
They
the
did.
run. But like, there's also a point where you still have to work on your offense and say this is going to be our focus. So I don't
I
know.
think they would argue. I think they would argue they ran the ball right. Because remember when Glenn gave his answer last week about positives
Oh
and
yeah,
the no blocked field goals. I can't
yeah.
believe they didn't get to even attempt a field goal Sunday. I was so excited to see
Hitting
that.
cross midfield.
Um, but one of the first things he said was, we said we were going to run the ball. We ran the ball. Like we were better than I think better than the last 2 years. He was
Mm.
his mantra. Like, and I think they finished 10th in yards per game rushing. But again, I think I said this last week. I never felt like this was a dominant rushing team at any point. They did lose Braylon Allen in week 4, I want to
Hmm.
say, in Miami. So I do think he was part of the plan, so that hurt. But yeah, and again, Rich had a great stat the other day that they've trailed I think they've been trailing on 53% of the time they've had the ball this season, which is like absurd. So it's hard. It is legitimately hard to run when it gets like that. But yeah, I think that's what they want to do, right? That's what they would go into next year hoping they could do.
Right. They hope they can go into it next year, but then also the big thing is incorporating the quarterback's ability to run this year, and they went away
Yeah, they
from
did
it.
not do that. They
They
did
did
not
not
do
do
that.
that. Again,
Yeah, that was kind of shocking. That was
Yeah.
shocking to me because
but it was the square peg in the round hole because you chose to pick Justin Fields for an offense that Frankie had talked about. This is the Detroit
yeah,
Lions offense. It's a play action quarterback under center, very easy
but
to.
I have to go back and watch this game. I
Yeah.
always go back and watch the whole season. I can't wait to watch week 1 again
Oh,
because like looking at the stats, you're like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
and in my
It's
mind's
insane.
eye, this is just going by memory. 3 months later, 4 months later, whatever it is, like they did run the ball with Justin Fields that day, right?
they
I'm not
did.
dreaming that.
No,
Like
they
I thought the way they ran the offense that day was impressive, and it was like, okay, I see the vision now. I see what they're doing, but it just didn't happen after that.
no, it
Even
didn't.
Brees had 100 yards that game to open up the season. By the way, they were connecting on all cylinders. They should have won that game if they didn't. If Xavier Gibson didn't fumble that
Yeah,
kickoff.
Yep.
So yeah,
So I mean, look, if schematics, which I agree with Frankie wholeheartedly, because they need to figure out what they're doing defensively as a team. They don't
yeah.
have
They have
an
no identity
they have
there.
no
None,
identity at all.
none.
And
Yeah,
they need an influx of talent, especially through the middle. And it feels like a constant theme with this team is like they got to be stronger up the middle. CJ Mosley was here briefly and had a really nice run, I think, for the Jets in that small amount of time. But they're weak at linebacker again. They need
yeah,
interior defensive linemen. They need safeties for God's sakes. They haven't had a good safety in a long time. But it's it's part of the X's and O's that they have to be better and coached up better. And that's going to be a big thing. I think Glenn has to find the right defensive coordinator, Kaz. And we heard him speak about, I guess, synergy or what term did he use? That
yeah.
him and
Synergy. Yeah.
synergy, him and the new defensive coordinator have to be in sync on how they scheme defensively. Uh, Who is that candidate then? Like I'd be fascinated to know who these guys are going to be.
Yeah, he was followed up was like, is he talking about schemers? Are you talking about like the two of them like relating? And he said it's kind of both. So yeah, I don't know what that means. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't like. I'm curious to see whether there's certain things that all coaches do, right? There's like certain moves you always, oh, we're gonna change play callers. We're gonna do this with that. Is the Aaron Glenn second year going to be? He's going to be more involved in the defense. I can almost see that coming from a mile away. That's going to be by Brian Costello, May 16th. second week of OTAs, Glenn says he's going to be more involved in the defense. Like you could just, I've been around a little while. I can kind of see these coming. And like, is that going to be the theme of year two? Is that Glenn is going to be more involved in the defense? He made a mistake in year one because that was another theme of today, guys, which was kind of interesting to me was Glenn admitting that year one was tough. Like there was a lot of learning on the job. And so,
Rookie head
that was
coach, right?
rookie. He called himself a rookie head coach, which that was interesting. Yeah. So, because
How
he was
can
kind of defiant about that in the offseason, like, oh well, Dan Campbell let me do this, and Dan Campbell kind of groomed me for this job, and like, yeah, now it's oh well, I didn't know what
how
I was
can you
doing.
say that? It feels like this has been Aaron Glenn's first year just in terms of his messaging. He says one thing, but then he goes back on his own
Yeah.
things he says because he backtracks on it. And look, like Frankie said, he's been great at backtracking his whole career because that's what he made his entire NFL career on. But what I'll say is though,
Oh,
is
that's
like,
not nice.
I know it's not nice, but it's the truth though, because how can you in one way say, you know what, guys, this was a rookie head coach, me learning on the job, but you were preaching to the media and fans and
Yeah.
giving you guys a hard time when you try to pin him down on questions about specifics and why the team was struggling and what can you say is a positive is he was always about, I'm going to coach these guys up like they've never been coached before. We're going to have schemes that are put Will McDonald in more situations that he'll be successful than he ever has before. It's like,
Yeah.
it's coaching, right? Remember that answer. It's coaching. It's like,
It's coaching.
okay,
Yeah.
if it's all coaching, then this 3-14 is really on you. But I also feel like they're giving us the other side of it and saying, look, we didn't have the talent. We had to tear it down. We're really evaluating all
I
of
don't
this.
think they've said that honestly, because I asked the question at the end, did you overrate this roster?
Mm,
And he said, no, I won't say that. And he
mm.
put it on him. I have not heard them say like to me or publicly, privately, I have not heard the whole like the talent wasn't as good as we thought it was. Like that's a very common,
Yeah.
another common refrain from GMs is, and maybe I do hear it at some point this offseason from them when I talk to them more, but I don't feel like they've put that message out that the talent wasn't good. I think Glenn, to his credit, has put more of the blame on himself in that regard.
Kaz, can I ask you a question and
Yeah.
just an honest answer? Not that you wouldn't give an honest answer, but just give me your full on this.
I'll give a
Do you
real
guys-
honest answer.
But just like at your core as a person, I'm saying, right? Like, do you
Oof.
think this
This sounds
team-
heavy, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean,
We're getting
My
deep
core-
on this one,
I'm my
guys.
Yeah,
core as a
we're
person.
yeah, like do you feel because you're there and we're not, so you
Yeah.
know more, you get a feel for it. You're in the locker room, we're not.
Yeah.
Do you gotta feel that this thing is gonna turn around with these guys,
Oof.
or is it TBD? I mean, like, what are you feeling?
That's
like,
a loaded
Yeah.
question. That's
'cause I
a
know Kaz
loaded.
has,
No.
Kaz has great
Uh,
intuition. You know he does. He can
I
sniff things out. You know,
I
like,
can't sit here and say today that I think they're going to turn it around. I haven't seen anything. And I asked Glenn after the game on Sunday because he's doing the, I said, well, what can you point to this season? Not about Detroit, not about New Orleans, this season that fans can say you're the right guy. And that's when he gave they got to trust me and they got to have faith. Like, hey, that ain't a great answer. Hope isn't a plan, right?
trust me,
So
bro. Yeah.
trust me is tough. And yeah, so I can't sit here and say they are, but I'm also, frankly, not going to go there. They're absolutely not. Like to
Okay.
me, and I've been down this road many times with many coaches. It's more about players and coaches to me. They need a quarterback first and foremost. If they just get the quarterback. And if you get the quarterback, I feel like that just covers 100 other warts on your team. But I haven't seen it myself because I feel like they haven't had a good quarterback. But yeah, it's just so I'm not saying that they can't, Frankie, but right now I can't. No one can sit here and tell you that. Oh yeah, they're going to definitely turn it around. Like I saw X, Y, and Z this season. There's nothing to cling to other than Chris Banjo did a really good job, and he hired Chris Banjo.
Yeah.
So, he gets credit for special teams. But I think I wrote this Sunday, like no one goes into a season and says, I really hope our kick return team carries the team this year.
Totally.
Isaiah Williams was the team MVP. Like, mind blowing, mind blowing. And I do want to say one thing about players because Mark Cannizzaro, our colleague, wrote this today. There's a This team is going to need a lot of things like speed and talent at positions.
Playmakers.
They need some leaders too. They need some leaders in the locker room because this team doesn't have it right now. And the leaders in the locker room are guys who just got here recently. And I know fans don't necessarily care about this, but Monday was baggy day, and it's the last day we get to talk to players. And Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall didn't talk. And those are two guys that we need to talk to as media members about this season because they're not Harrison Phillips, who just got here in August. They're not Josh Myers, who just got here in April. Like, they've been here since 2022. So tell us, like, do you feel better about this team than you did last year? Like, Jeremy Rucker talked, and he kind of said that. They're also arguably the two biggest stars on the team. Um, Garrett hasn't talked since he got hurt, in November. So we haven't talked to him in basically 2 months. Brees is going to be a free agent. So and I don't know, like I grew up in this business around the Yankees. I think we talked about this before. Like Derek Jeter talked all the time to the media because he saw it as part of his job. He was the captain of the team. Derek didn't talk when things were going well, right? If there was a game where the Yankees won and he really wasn't part of it, he would take off and let other guys have the spotlight. Eli Manning, I didn't cover, but I know the stories. Eli Manning would talk. He always talked after the game. He would talk on Mondays after a loss. He would not talk on Mondays after a win. Like that's culture, guys. Like we talk about culture all the time. Culture, culture, culture. The culture sucks here. And part of it is guys not being accountable. You just went 3-14. Garrett, you're the captain of the team. Talk. Like just you fans want to hear from you. Forget about me, forget about Mark Cannizzaro and reporters. Fans want to hear from you. And it's just telling to me that we're in there and four guys talked yesterday and two of them got here within like the last year. So, and like, what's their perspective? Like I appreciate them, but they can't get put in perspective over the years. So I just think as they enter free agency, like Glenn needs to get some dudes in here that are going to be leaders for him in the locker room.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions about the leadership, but also at the same time, what Aaron Glenn's message will be to the team and what they're trying to pursue in this year too. Cause we know how important this is going to be, nailing the draft picks and the cap space. Before we get to that part, for Aaron Glenn, and like Frankie said, do you have any confidence in them turning around? Do you think Aaron Glenn still has a chance to be I'll just call it an average NFL head coach and can turn some of this around?
I do. Yeah. I do think there is something to learning, on the job. Like we've all done stuff that you get better at. After you do it for a year, I think there is something to that. I know that there's stats out there about guys never turning around. And like again, I think this is largely about players. They need better players in here. That's starting a quarterback. And if they can figure that out, he's going to look like a hell of a better coach, right? How good did Andy Reid look the last few weeks? Right? They just lost to the Raiders. Andy Reid's arguably the best coach in the sport. And when when you take 15 away, he's not quite as good a coach as he was. And that's just the way it works. That's
Look
the
at
way it
Bill
works.
Belichick without
Bill
Brady.
Belichick, absolutely. So there is, they need to get a quarterback. So I don't think it's like, oh my God, this guy's never going to be a good coach. I'm not there at all. But I'm also not
At
going to
all.
argue with.
Really, at
I'm
all.
not at all that he'll never be a good coach. I don't think you can say that.
Okay.
It's like there's still a chance he's going to be a good coach. Like, but I also don't think you can sit here and go, I know he's going to be a good coach. And I don't begrudge the people that thought he should have been fired. I get it. Like, I don't think he should have been fired, but I'm not also not going to sit here and tell you you're nuts to say that. I get it. Like, I understand where they're coming from.
So going
Uh,
into year two, go ahead, Frankie.
No, just a follow up there. If they didn't give Glenn full reign, all the keys,
Yeah.
made him the CEO, and paid him what they paid him, do you think obviously a one and done situation would have been more
Yeah.
likely? I think that is why, and going with the 33rd team, that's why he's getting another year for sure. I think if he was hired under the same, yeah.
I don't necessarily. I get what you're saying, Frankie, and I've cited the salary as a reason he's here. I also think there's something with him and Woody.
Hmm.
I think Woody and he have known each other for a long time. He was a scout here, and I think he got to know Woody. So I think he has a better relationship with Woody than any head coach I've seen since Rex has been here because they have history. So it's not like he's just getting, think about like that's intimidating as a coach getting to know the owner of the team, right? This guy, this billionaire. they're around a lot, but they're not around all the time. So you're like, it's hard. Like, he already knows them. They already have like a relationship. You can see the way they speak to each other just from a distance. There's familiarity there. So I think that helps. I think it helps that Woody picked him. Okay, so like remember, Woody didn't pick Gase. Woody didn't pick Saleh. Woody didn't pick Joe Douglas. He was away for a while. These are his guys, and so I think it would be tough for Woody to turn around a year later and go, man, I screwed that up. I
Mm,
think that's tough.
yeah.
And I do think the question is valid of like, okay, what's the plan now? Like, is
Mm.
there someone out there that you're dying to have coach the team? Because I don't know if there is. So I think the salary plays a big role in it, Frankie, but I don't necessarily think he would have been one and done if it was different.
So look, I think Frankie and myself have a lot of question marks and a lot of Jets fans about Aaron
Yeah.
Glenn and his credibility as a coach because Kaz, with the number 2 pick and the number 16 pick and so much cap space and 3 first round picks the following year, the Jets are going to wind up drafting their quarterback of the future, you would hope. And there's
Yeah.
question marks about the development of said quarterback. And I know development is a tough word that we talked about last week, but there is this sense from us as fans that I don't know if I can trust a coach like this to develop said young quarterback. And would the Jets be putting themselves in the similar situation that we've seen with so many other rookie quarterbacks with other teams where they get drafted in their first year, their head coach either gets fired after that first year or in the
Yeah.
midseason? And we've seen a lot of that in recent history. Is Aaron Glenn in jeopardy of having that same situation happen?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's going to be tremendous pressure on Aaron Glenn in year two after winning 3 games. I don't think it's not like Brian Daboll, like going into his fourth season with a rookie quarterback, or Todd Bowles going into his fourth season with a rookie quarterback, like that situation. But yeah, I think it could happen. I think for fans, though, you don't have to worry about that too much. I think it's kind of worked out in some regards when the coach gets fired. It doesn't harm the quarterback as much as we might think, right? Like Caleb Williams is doing all right this year, right? They're in the playoffs. Drake May's doing all right. They're in the playoffs. Both of those guys, their coaches got fired as rookie, and they're probably better off for it, right? I almost think if
Yeah.
they do fire Glenn after next year, right, and they do have a rookie quarterback, if you have a guy going into his second year at quarterback that you drafted number two, there's either going to be the offensive genius is going to be the head coach, like Ben Johnson, or they're going to have an offensive coordinator like Josh McDaniels waiting in the wings. But Josh McDaniels is probably an outlier because he's not going to be a head coach again, I wouldn't think. So he's like the perfect offensive coordinator there,
Yeah.
and he had history there. So I think it's more like you going, okay, if they fire Glenn next year and they have a quarterback on the second year, whoever the offensive coordinator of the year is going to be here as the head coach, I would think, and that can work out. I mean, I think it's worked out in places where the guy's been fired.
So talking about this quarterback room, Tyrod's a free agent. Justin's
Yeah,
under contract, but I'm would you say
he's going to be cut.
he's going to be
Yeah,
cut?
yeah, I
Brady
would be
Cook is under
shocked if he wasn't cut.
contracts. So we're looking at a completely different quarterback room. I
Yes,
I have said that the Jets need to one obviously draft a quarterback this year no matter what, whether it's in number
right.
2, 16, whatever it is in the draft, but they need to draft a quarterback. And I
Yeah,
think they need to sign a veteran that can start day
yeah,
one for this team next year. And on top of that, I would sign another veteran like the Giants did that can start games for you as well, just to
yeah.
give you that opportunity to have a good quarterback room finally that you can say, you know what, we got 2 quarterbacks we feel confident in and the veterans that can start and a rookie that we're hoping to develop for the future. How do you see the Jets attacking this quarterback room this offseason?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to attack it, right? Like I don't have reporting here, like that we're not that like they're just meeting on that this week, I think, to sort of figure that out. But for me, like this is my opinion. I'm with you. I would have three here. I would like you don't know how the draft's going to go. I mean, we'll probably have a pretty good idea because they have the number two pick, but I would sign a veteran. I would have another veteran here, and if you don't want the Giants model of keeping them, you can do the Jets model 2018 and flip one at the end of August, like they traded Teddy Bridgewater to New Orleans and get a draft pick, right? Someone's gonna be looking for a high end backup, and if you feel good about where the rookie is and the other guy, like you could definitely do that. Mac Jones intrigues the heck out of me. Like
Mm.
he's the guy for me. Like I'm intrigued there. And would you guys give up a draft pick for Mac Jones?
I would. The Jets need quarterback bodies, man, and I would take them. Frankie?
It depends, obviously, what pick. I'd give up a fifth for him, definitely. I just
You're gonna get
wonder.
more than a fifth. They're
You're
gonna
gonna
get
get
more
more
than
I
a fifth
fifth.
know.
one.
I know.
He
The
Frankie,
thing
they're
with
gonna
started
have
Mac,
7
10, they're gonna have
games.
10 picks this year
the thing
after
with
they get
Mac,
compensatory picks this
Yeah.
year.
the thing with Mac Jones is he a product of Kyle Shanahan? Like being, having that stretch, and then when the film's out on you, it's the same thing with Malik Willis. By the way, you can have the same exact conversation. Are these guys a product of their offense and defensive coordinator not having a film? Having the film out on them. I don't know. I like
Yes.
Mac Jones though, Kaz. Would I go a third? No, I'd go maybe a fourth. Would you go a third? I
I
mean,
mean, Frankie, if you're talking about Mac Jones being your day one starter to sit in front of the rookie, it's not a bad plan, man.
no. I'll say this about this plan though, just real quick. With Dante Moore specifically, Dante Moore, I'll never be more sure of myself than this with him. He needs to sit for at least half a season, at least, preferably a full season. He's got a lot of issues in the pocket when it's not clean and things get a little bit erratic. He doesn't fully yet understand how to play the quarterback position. He doesn't. He doesn't have a lot of starts under his belt at Oregon. He just doesn't. There's rumors he might go
17,
back.
17 between
Yeah.
that and UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, like Mendoza's way more polished as a starter, but limited in terms of his ceiling. Whereas Moore, he has a ceiling similar like a CJ Stroud, but
Well,
he's
Mel,
got a
Mel
low
Kiper did
floor.
just
I'm just
flip.
saying.
If you're looking at the big board, Mel Kiper's latest big board, he did just flip and put Moore as his number one player and number one quarterback.
He had him there. He's had him there,
Oh, he
Ryan.
has had him there.
He
Okay.
might
has,
flip
yeah,
Mendoza then.
yeah, I'm actually curious if he flips Mendoza at some point. He's had more
Yeah.
number one in Mendoza too for the whole time.
He put his out 4 days ago, so January 2nd. He
Oh, so he's
has
still stuck with it. Yeah.
Dante Moore as number one.
Yeah, he's had that as his number one for a while.
I'm just concerned with more guys coming in here. From my perspective, I mean, some people don't think he needs that much developmental time. He could start week one. In my opinion, just looking at him, and I've read a bunch of scouting reports on him. I think he needs to sit for at least half a season, preferably for a season plus, in my opinion. And I think you could reach that ceiling. He is a very volatile prospect. Like he might be really good or really bad. It's similar to Zach Wilson in a lot of ways when he came out. I'm just saying a lot of
Did he
similarities
just say that,
there.
Ryan? Did he
Uh,
just say that?
He
I'm
did.
letting
But
everyone know. And
here's what I'll
just
say
letting
though.
them know.
I think the bottom line though, and then this is where I want to get to the crux of the argument, cause either way, feels like if whoever the Jets draft, they got to get a veteran in here that can be the day one starter and just let the
Yeah.
rookie sit. Don't put that pressure on him because it feels like Aaron Glenn has to show some semblance of we have an offense that can actually operate here in the NFL. Am
Yeah.
I crazy to think that way?
No, I
You're
agree with
spot on.
you. And I think it's also smart for a coach because that's the lever you pull when you're 0 and 4 or 1 and 5.
man.
You
Oh
go,
my
you
God.
go,
Imagine
"Hey,
he starts
we're gonna,
1-5 next year,
we're gonna put
cuz.
all right, here we go. We're putting the rookie in. Ah, and then
That's what
everybody, like,
Dayball did.
that's what Dable did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's again, there's a playbook to how this works. And so, yeah. No, and I think every quarterback needs to sit, honestly. Like it's a different sport. And I think they all need. I think it's very few guys are good from day one of the season. They a lot of them will end up playing in their first year, but yeah, I would want all of them to sit for a while. So I think it's smart to have a couple veterans in here.
And then going into the quarterback room, again, I asked you this last week, and I thought it was interesting what you said. Again, Charles London is the quarterback coach right now.
Yeah,
Are they going to evaluate that and figure out
yeah.
maybe we need to get an actual quarterback coach in here?
Look, I don't want to
I know
besmirch
you.
Charles
Yeah, I
London,
know you
right?
don't want to.
I don't
know.
think it's totally fair, guys. Like we can't sit
Yeah,
here
yeah.
and go, Justin Fields sucks, Brady Cook sucks, Charles London sucks. Like right, like he wasn't given Joe Montana and Steve Young
Yeah.
to work with. All right. What I'll say is, I would think if you're drafting a quarterback number two, you might want somebody a little more experienced at developing quarterbacks in that room. So I think they'll evaluate that. Does that mean Charles London stays, but they put somebody over him, in some kind of senior offensive assistant role? Do they do that? Do they just swap out and get rid of him and make another quarterback coach? I don't know. I think it's part of the evaluation. I don't necessarily think it's like, oh my God, Charles London was just a disaster in 2025. Like the Jets quarterbacks were not good. And I don't necessarily think, Bill Walsh and Don Coryell would have gotten a lot out of them. So, You guys know who Don Coryell is, or am I going too old school for you?
I've
But
heard the name before, but I don't
Heard of
know.
him.
okay, Air
Yeah.
Coryell. He basically invented the spread offense and Dan Fouts, and yeah. So, um, but like, look, So I do think though they need to take a serious look at it and go, we may be making a gigantic investment here in the number two pick and paying someone a lot of money. We need to get the best people around him because I really do like we talked about the development thing. I'm not begrudging like the Josh McDaniels effect. I just think it's more play calling than like in the classroom stuff. But like they need to have a good support system around this guy and make sure he gets all the support he's gonna need next year.
Ryan, something I wanted to tell you and Kaz, and this is an issue that I've had with our fan base, as negative as I can be. Let's call this a spade a spade. It is impossible to know what Charles London's doing and if he's
Yes.
doing a good or bad job. We don't
Yes.
even really know from Aaron Glenn's perspective what kind of job he's doing day in and day out. It
Yeah.
could be, like with Tanner Engstrand, everyone's like, "Oh, get rid of him." Well, you saw Samini's stat. How many? I mean, we're lining up with our quarterback under center. He's down more than any quarterback's ever been down in the history of the sport. So it's like, how does that put your offensive coordinator in a positive position? I'm just saying, there's so many circumstances here at play.
Yeah.
It's impossible to judge all these guys. You just don't know. We know the quarterbacks are bad. We know that. We see
Yeah,
that.
I agree with you, Frank. It's a good point. Position coaches are very hard to evaluate,
Yeah.
especially over one season and stuff. So it gets tough.
It does. Look, guys, the final thing I want to talk about is just overall going into this offseason, Kaz. It, I don't know how to really word this properly, but for me as a fan, and I think for Frankie as well, this team, they have to nail this draft. It's like so important. Like this draft, it feels like
Every draft is important, though,
I
Ryan.
know, but but
Like
today,
we've said this. I mean, there's another one,
but the
We've
thousand
said this
times.
25 times in the
but
last
the
30 years.
onus that they have put on themselves today, after what I heard from Mougey and Glenn about the vision, about the picks, about the cap space, this is the offseason they have to nail no matter what. And I do want to highlight one little thing. The Raiders win is massive for the Jets. They now have the 33rd pick, which is essentially a third first round pick because you get what's ever left over there at the top as the first pick in the second round.
Without the fifth round option, too.
Exactly. So now you have essentially six first round picks in the next 2 years. If you cannot turn this team around in a 2 year span with six first round picks and the $70+ million in cap space, guys, you clearly don't have the right guys in the room. So that question remains to be answered. But
Here's what I'd argue on that. You got to get the quarterback right. And I know I'm harping on this, but 2021, Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker. 2022, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson. So not six, but five. And then if you want to throw Brees was a high pick in the second round.
Yep.
So it's essentially
Exactly
a similar situation to this, right? Vera Tucker, that's not a bad draft pick. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, but as evaluating the draft pick itself, he was a good
Solid,
pick.
good.
Solid pick. Sauce Gardner, I know Frankie loves him, but good
No,
good pick.
it was a very
Rookie
good
of the
pick.
year.
I'll give him credit.
Garrett, good pick. Jermaine has had injury issues up and down. Okay, it wasn't a bad pick. Brees, good pick. Zach Wilson, disaster pick, right?
Yeah.
Like you get the quarterback wrong.
It's true, guys. A great example.
Everything else sucks, Ryan. Like everything else sucks. So like, yeah, they've just got to get a freaking quarterback in here. It just helps everything. Like the Giants aren't in that much of a better position than the Jets, except it feels like they might have got a quarterback. Yeah, it feels like they got a quarterback, right? So they are. It's like that's what you point to, and so yeah, I hate to just be simplistic about it, but to me, it's all about that.
Frankie, any final thoughts about the Jets' vision going forward?
Oh boy. Listen, I agree with Kaz. I do. The thing I'll say is there has to be a coaching staff here, whether it's this one or whichever the next one is, that is really going to set this quarterback up to succeed. I mean, you got to give him the right play calling. You got to know when to put him in. You have to understand what kind of system he wants to run. Do you want to carry over what he did in college? You're going to give him something new. I mean, there's so many variables here. We had Sam Darnold, right? We drafted Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, look at Sam Darnold, how successful he's been. He's arguably running one of the best teams in football again this year. So, yeah, it did take him some time. He did go to a couple other destinations before he settled on Minnesota, and ultimately now in Seattle, he's playing well. So maybe he wasn't ready here. I just don't, again, want to rerun the same thing that we did with Robert Saleh. And it seems like they don't know kind of how to get out of their own way sometimes. I understand people that wanted Aaron Glenn to stick around for another year. I get it. But they should be, I think, everyone there needs to just be a little bit more accountable to the fans specifically. Because if you want us to believe in your vision, believe in us as fans too. Don't just throw us to the side. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about, stats that we have to go back. Computers will be breaking trying to find these stats. Freaking robots are exploding out there trying to figure this stuff out. It's craziness. And they don't, it's a bunch of things that I feel like they just threw us to the side. I feel like abused child here.
Yeah, ignore the
I hate
season.
using that term, but yes, it's ridiculous. No statement. And I understand from their perspective, well, we didn't need to make a statement. Who said this guy was on the hot seat at all? You guys did, not us. I get that, but be a little bit more conscious of how the fan base is reacting to this. Kaz and Ryan, have you guys ever seen it this negative? I mean, I haven't. The Gase days got pretty negative.
Gase is pretty negative.
I think this might be worse though, Kaz. But I'm with you. It's similar. It's very but
yeah. What surprised me is how quickly it turned for Glenn. I thought Glenn would have more of a honeymoon because of his experience as a player here with you guys. Gase wasn't popular from the day he was hired, right?
True.
That was clear, and so it only got worse from then. I want to point out, because I was accused of being a Gase defender a lot back in those days. He did go 7-9 in his first season when everyone was screaming to fire him, right? And he lost his starting quarterback for 3 of those games. So just to point, that 2019 was light years better than this team. So, but this is as bad as I can ever remember it. And watching what the stadium looked like in the last few weeks, the Atlanta game, Miami game, New England game, it was rough. I mean, there was nobody there. And the people I really feel bad for are the people that work for the Jets that have nothing to do with football. Because there's a lot of good people that work here. And they think about their lives, guys, right? Think about they hear about the Jets all the time from, when their kid's soccer game or when they go to the supermarket and someone knows them, right? They have to deal with all the crap and they have nothing to do with the on-field product. And think about the guys who have to sell tickets. Their job is to sell tickets. They have to call people up. They have to call people up and say, how about buying Jet season tickets?
Oh, and we're increasing your prices too if you are returning your season ticket holder.
Right.
Don't forget that.
And that's not their fault. The guys making the calls.
No, of course.
So it's oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, I hope it turns for you guys at some point because it's just tough.
I hope it turns for us, and I hope it turns for draft prospects wanting to come here to New York as well. Because I've heard.
Can I
Kaz,
hit that one too?
Yes,
Can I hit that
I had
one
to
quick?
finish up on it, Kaz. I had to.
He threw him the softball. There he is.
I mean, I respect the hell out of Todd McShay. I like him. I talk to him. I've always liked his evaluations when he was on ESPN, and now after ESPN. But that's ridiculous to say people don't want to come here. Draft picks don't want to come here. Draft picks want to get drafted. And oh, what they want to go? He wants to go to Cleveland. The Browns have been better. Guess what, guys? If you're drafting in the top 5, you suck. Unless you traded up there, you suck. And there's issues with your franchise if you're in the top 5. There are issues. And guess what? In 2027, the teams drafting in the top 5 are going to have issues. And in 2028, the guys this idea he's going to go back to his school to avoid the Jets. No. We've seen that twice. We've seen guys try to avoid teams twice in the last 45 years with John Elway and Eli Manning. It doesn't happen. And I thought
Peyton
that was
with
silly.
Bill Parcells in the Jets too.
But that was different, though. That was different. So what Archie has always said is that if they asked Parcells, is Payton gonna be the number one pick? And Parcells wouldn't guarantee it. And they said if he had guaranteed it, Payton would have come out.
Ah,
Or that's the legendary tale, right? So yeah, but Parcells would not guarantee he was going to be the number one pick. So that wasn't necessarily how he's avoiding the Jets. I also think I was watching college football heavily at that time, and I remember Peyton like really genuinely loved college, and he loved being there, and so I think he wanted to go back for other reasons. So I don't think he was avoiding the Jets. But obviously, Eli avoided the Chargers, John avoided the Colts. But I just think it's silly, and I know now this gets thrown on. Well, NIL. Well, NIL is applicable if you're a fourth round pick or a third round pick, but I think the guy I'm forgetting his name. He's going to Texas Tech now from Cincinnati. He was the number one quarterback in the portal. I think they're saying he got $5 million to go to Texas
CJ,
Tech.
right?
He's the number one guy. Sorsby, I think it is. I think
Yes.
it's Sorsby. He's the number one guy. $5 million. And I listened to a great college football podcast. Dan Wetzel and Pete Thamel do, and they were talking about the other day that in the transfer portal now the quarterbacks are going to get $5 million. The best non-quarterbacks will get $2 million in NIL. That's the market you're talking about. The number two pick will get $34 million the day he signs his name on a contract. Think about 34 million signing bonus, guys, right? Like it might be split in two, but you're going to get
Yeah.
that money the day you sign. NIL's not competing with that. Like even Phil Knight's not competing with that, right? So yeah, I just thought that was irresponsible. And then there's a layer that Todd McShay is really good friends with Joe Douglas, and like is he just crapping on the Jets because of that? But I don't know. I don't know that part of it, but it's I thought that was stupid.
Coz's reply went viral. He
Yes, it did.
ratioed him, man. I like that.
Fans were loving it, Cos, and they were eating it up because
Oh, good.
whenever someone goes after the Jets and you defend, even though you're not technically defending the Jets, you were just stating, "Hey, look, this is
Jets. Like, it's silly.
stupid. It's stupid and silly."
And
to even-
like you guys
Mind
are an
you-
easy. The Jets are an easy target.
Yeah.
Right. I get it. They're an easy target, and they've brought that upon themselves in so many freaking ways. But like this thing is just dumb because oh yeah he'd rather go to the Arizona Cardinals.
no, the
Like,
Raiders is what he's talking about. The Raiders who have
Raiders,
six
oh, the
coaches
Raiders. Yeah.
in 6 years. Think about that. 6 coaches in
Yes.
6 years.
They're a
That's
complete
where
mess.
he wants to go.
And the
Yeah.
worst offensive line probably in football, to be honest. They can't block anybody out there.
Yeah, yeah. And like, by the way, guys, too, like you're a draft pick. You just want to play in the NFL. Now, I don't know Dante Moore's family dynamics at all. Sometimes there's fathers involved who are like, do I really should my like I've actually gotten calls before from fathers of draft picks asking me about the Jets organization. And so I know this is true. And sometimes they are, but they're not going to manipulate things, but they just might be like a little skittish about the organization. Those are guys that are, sometimes our age or are in that, that are like that have seen it, but college kids and like also most of them, and they should be like this. They're so cocky, they think they're going to come here and change everything, and that's how it should be. Like how so stupid.
It's only the start, Kaz. It's only the start of the offseason, and we're looking forward to all your coverage throughout it. We appreciate both you and Frankie coming on here and discussing whatever the hell that was, the end of the season presser between Glenn and Mougey. And we'll continue to look forward to dissect this quote-unquote vision. That will be the hot topic and word for the offseason for the New York Jets. As always, Kaz, we appreciate you. We thank you. Frankie, I appreciate you, buddy, and we'll catch you all next time. And as always, go Jets.